sky over Eastern Europe was sick with thunder. Black clouds rolled like a living ocean above the Carpathian Mountains, swallowing the moon and choking the stars. Wind screamed through dead trees, bending them like broken bones. No birds flew here. No animals cried. Nature itself avoided this land. At the highest peak, carved into the cliff like a wound in the earth, stood Castle Draculesti. Its towers were ancient, cracked by centuries of storms and soaked in blood older than memory. Every stone had heard screams, every shadow remembered death. Lightning struck. For a single heartbeat, the entire castle was illuminated, and something moved inside. Deep within the grand hall, a heartbeat echoed, slow, heavy, not human. Candles lining the hall suddenly ignited on their own, blue flames dancing unnaturally, as if afraid of what they revealed. From the far end of the chamber, a tall figure stepped forward. His boots made no sound. His skin was pale as moon-washed marble. His eyes burned crimson, glowing brighter with every thunderclap. A long black cloak flowed behind him like living smoke. Count Dracula had awakened. He inhaled deeply, tasting the air. "Fear," he murmured, "and rage." A thin smile spread across his lips, exposing fangs sharp enough to tear through steel. "The world sends me something new tonight." The Gamma Storm. Hundreds of miles away, far beneath a heavily fortified military facility, alarms began to scream. Warning, gamma radiation spike containment failure. Red lights flooded the underground corridors as scientists ran for their lives. Monitors exploded, walls cracked. Inside a reinforced chamber, Bruce Banner collapsed to his knees, gripping his head as pain tore through his skull. "No, not here," he whispered. The energy readings had drawn him to this region, something ancient, something powerful. But the soldiers had panicked. One gunshot echoed. That was enough. Banner's heartbeat accelerated. Bones snapped. Muscles expanded violently, tearing through flesh as green skin swallowed the man whole. A roar shook the base. Not human, not animal. "Hulk! Smash!" Steel doors were ripped apart like paper. Concrete shattered as the Hulk burst into the open night, rain hissing off his massive body like steam. He stood beneath the storm, chest heaving, eyes glowing radioactive green. Then he felt it. A presence. Cold. Evil. Calling to him. Hulk snarled, turning toward the distant mountains. Bad thing there. With a thunderous leap, Hulk vanished into the forest, exploding beneath his landing points as he bounded toward the unknown. The meeting of monsters. Back at the castle, Dracula stood at the balcony, cape billowing wildly as he watched the horizon. The ground began to tremble. Birds burst from the forest in panic. Dracula closed his eyes and smiled. "So powerful," he whispered. "So angry." The tremors grew stronger. Then, boom. The earth shook violently as Hulk landed at the edge of the forest below the castle, cracking the ground like shattered glass. He rose slowly, staring up at the towering structure. "Big, dead house," Hulk growled. From the shadows of the castle walls, glowing red eyes opened. Dozens, then hundreds. Dracula spread his arms wide. "Welcome," he said softly, his voice carried by the wind, "to my kingdom of eternal night." Thunder roared. Two monsters stared at each other across the storm-soaked battlefield. Rage met immortality, and the night itself seemed to hold its breath. End of act. The wind howled through the ruined village at the foot of Castle Draculesti. Wooden houses stood crooked and abandoned, their windows black like empty eye sockets. A church bell hung silent, cracked from age. Fog crept along the ground, thick and cold, wrapping itself around broken fences and gravestones. Hulk stepped forward. Each footstep shook the earth. He sniffed the air, his face twisting with disgust. Death! Everywhere. Then a scream. It came from the graveyard. The ground began to move. Cracked earth split open as rotting hands burst through the soil. Coffins shattered from below. Bodies dragged themselves free. Men, women, children, faces half-eaten, eyes glowing crimson. The undead had risen. Hulk roared. "Zombies!" They charged him in a mindless wave. Hulk met them head-on. He grabbed the first corpse and smashed it into the ground, splintering bone and flesh like wet clay. Another leapt at his back. Hulk caught it mid-air and ripped it in half, throwing the remains into the crowd. Bodies flew. Heads rolled. The village echoed with wet cracking sounds as Hulk tore through the undead army, using broken fences, wagons, even gravestones as weapons. But something was wrong. The zombies kept coming. They didn't scream. They didn't bleed properly. They didn't die. Hulk crushed skull after skull, yet the bodies twitched and crawled, dragging themselves forward with broken limbs. Hulk growled in frustration. "Why? Not stop!" The Lord of Night descends. The sky darkened unnaturally. The moon vanished behind thick clouds. From the castle balcony, Dracula raised one pale hand. The ground froze. The undead stopped moving, then slowly turned, kneeling in unison. A sudden silence fell. Then wings. Thousands of bats erupted from the castle towers, swirling into a living storm. At the center of the black cloud, a tall shape formed. Dracula descended. He floated gently to the ground, boots never touching the earth, his red eyes locked onto Hulk. "So crude," Dracula said calmly, surveying the carnage. "All this strength, and yet you fight the dead like a child breaking toys." Hulk snarled. "Ugly man talks too much." Dracula smiled. In less than a blink, he vanished. Hulk barely had time to react before something slammed into his chest, launching him through a stone house. Walls exploded as Hulk skidded through rubble, roaring in rage. Dracula reappeared behind him. Too fast, too silent. "This is your first lesson," Dracula whispered. "You cannot hit what you cannot see." Dracula struck again, claws raking across Hulk's back, slicing green flesh open. Black blood splattered the stones. Hulk screamed, then laughed. "Hulk, heal." The wounds closed instantly. Hulk turned and swung. Dracula vanished again. Monster against monster. The battlefield became chaos. Dracula attacked from every direction. Above, behind, below, his movements faster than sound. Each strike carved into Hulk, drawing blood, breaking bone. But every wound healed. Hulk adapted. He slammed both fists into the ground. Boom! A shockwave tore through the village, throwing Dracula off balance for a split second. That was enough. Hulk grabbed him mid-air. "Got you!" Hulk slammed Dracula into the ground again and again, creating a massive crater. Stone shattered. Dust filled the air. Hulk raised his fist for the final blow, and Dracula laughed. His body dissolved into black mist, slipping through Hulk's fingers. Hulk stared at his empty hands, confused. Where? Go. The mist reformed behind him. Dracula placed a hand on Hulk's shoulder. "You are powerful," Dracula admitted, "but power without eternity is meaningless." He disappeared once more, reappearing atop the church roof as the undead rose again around Hulk. Dracula spread his arms. Attack! Hundreds of corpses surged forward. Hulk roared, surrounded on all sides. The village burned. The night screamed. And far above, Dracula watched with glowing eyes, already planning something far worse. The village was nothing but fire and broken bones. Burning houses collapsed inward, sending sparks into the blood-colored sky. The undead lay scattered, torn apart, crushed, burned, yet many still twitched, crawling like insects that refused to die. At the center of the destruction stood Hulk, chest heaving, fists dripping with blackened blood. He growled, confused. Too many, never end. From the highest tower of Castle Draculesti, Dracula watched. His red eyes narrowed, not with fear but with fascination. "So much power," he murmured, "and yet so easily guided." Dracula turned away from the balcony and descended into the catacombs beneath the castle, where the air was thick with rot and ancient magic. Stone walls were carved with forbidden symbols older than Christianity itself. At the center of the chamber stood a black altar, pulsing faintly. Dracula sliced his wrist with a claw. Dark, ancient blood dripped onto the stone. The symbols ignited. "The rage of the living," Dracula whispered, "bound by the hunger of the dead." The ritual had begun. The curse strikes. Above ground, Hulk lifted a fallen corpse and crushed it, then froze. His head snapped upward. Something hit him. An invisible force slammed into his chest, driving him to one knee. Green veins darkened, turning black. His heartbeat thundered violently in his ears. Hulk roared in pain. "No, hurts!" The air around him turned cold. A whisper echoed inside his mind, not his own. Hunger. Hulk's vision blurred. The undead nearby stopped attacking and stepped back. Hulk looked down at his hands. They were shaking. For the first time, Hulk smelled something stronger than rage. Blood. Warm. Alive. Nearby, a terrified villager crawled from beneath rubble, bleeding heavily. Hulk turned slowly toward him. The man screamed. Hulk stepped forward. "Need more." High above, Dracula smiled. "Yes," he whispered through the night. "Feed." Hulk vs himself. Hulk reached for the man. His fingers trembled inches from the human's chest. Suddenly, pain exploded in his head. Images flashed violently. A laboratory, a mirror. Bruce Banner's face, afraid. "No!" Hulk roared, clutching his skull. Bruce's voice echoed inside. "You promised." Hulk screamed, slamming his fists into the ground. "No hurt, people!" Gamma energy surged uncontrollably, blowing the undead backward like leaves in a storm. The villager crawled away, sobbing. The curse fought back. Hulk's eyes flickered between green and blood red. Dracula's voice returned, calm and commanding. "Serve me, beast. You were born to destroy." Hulk fell to one knee, roaring in agony. Then something changed. Hulk stood slowly, his breathing steadied, his fists clenched, not in rage but resolve. Hulk, choose. Green light exploded from his body, shattering the invisible chains of dark magic. The altar beneath the castle cracked violently. Dracula staggered back in shock. Impossible. The declaration of war. Hulk lifted his head toward the castle. His eyes burned brighter than ever. "Bad magic, man," Hulk growled. "Hulk coming." He leapt. The ground collapsed beneath him as he launched toward the castle like a living missile. In the catacombs, Dracula snarled, wiping blood from his lips. "So," he hissed, "you resist." The castle trembled. Dracula's shadow stretched unnaturally across the walls as he transformed, bones cracking, wings beginning to tear through flesh. "Then I will show you," he roared, "what a true monster is." Above, Hulk smashed through the outer walls of the castle, stone exploding outward. Two forces, Gamma Rage and Eternal Darkness, rushed toward each other. The final battle was coming. "Say Act 4, and I'll HULK vs Immortal." The castle screamed. Stone walls exploded outward as Hulk burst through, landing in the grand courtyard like a falling star. Towers cracked, ancient statues shattered into dust. The sky above turned blood red. The moon swelled unnaturally, glowing like a wounded eye watching the world die. From the collapsing throne hall, a roar answered Hulk's arrival. Not human, not animal. Bones cracked, flesh tore. Dracula emerged in his true form. Wings of blackened bone tore from his back, stretching wide enough to blot out the moon. His skin turned ash-grey, veins glowing crimson beneath it. Horns curved from his skull, and his mouth opened wider than possible, revealing rows of fangs dripping with dark blood. "I am eternal," Dracula thundered. "I am the night itself." Hulk rolled his shoulders and snarled. "Hulk, end night." The sky shatters. Dracula launched forward faster than thought. They collided mid-air. Boom! The impact sent a shockwave through the mountains, flattening trees miles away. Hulk and Dracula crashed through the highest tower, spiraling downward in a storm of stone and fire. They hit the courtyard hard. Dracula was on Hulk instantly, claws piercing Hulk's shoulders, lifting him off the ground. Fangs sank into Hulk's neck. Green blood sprayed. Hulk screamed, then grabbed Dracula's head and headbutted him, cracking the demon's skull. "Hulk! Not food!" Hulk slammed Dracula into the ground, again and again, until the courtyard became a crater. Dracula roared, regenerating rapidly, laughing through broken bones. "Pain means nothing to me!" Rage evolves. Dracula spread his wings and took to the air, hurling bolts of dark energy downward. Shadows wrapped around Hulk's legs, dragging him into the earth. Hulk roared, muscles bulging larger than ever. "Enough!" Gamma energy exploded outward, vaporizing the shadows. Hulk leapt, higher than ever before, grabbing Dracula mid-flight. The wings tore, bones snapped. Dracula screamed as Hulk ripped both wings free, hurling them into the castle walls. They crashed back into the courtyard. Dracula crawled, regenerating slowly now. "You cannot kill me," he hissed. "I will rise again." Hulk looked around. The castle was collapsing. Dawn crept faintly at the horizon. Hulk's eyes narrowed. "Then Hulk trap you." The bell of dawn. Hulk spotted the ruined church bell, half buried in rubble, ancient and heavy. He lifted it. The ground cracked under its weight. Dracula lunged desperately, fangs bared. Hulk swung. Crash! The bell crushed Dracula, pinning him as holy symbols carved into the metal burned into his flesh. Dracula screamed, truly screamed, as sunlight touched his skin. "No, this world is mine." Hulk grabbed the bell and leapt, higher, toward the rising sun. With a final roar, Hulk hurled the bell into the sky, where it shattered in blinding light. Dracula's scream echoed, then vanished. Morning arrived slowly. The sun rose over the Carpathian Mountains, casting pale gold light across the ruins of Castle Draculesti. What once stood as a fortress of eternal night was now nothing but broken stone, smoke, and drifting ash. The undead were gone. Their bodies crumbled into dust the moment sunlight touched them, carried away by the wind like forgotten sins. At the center of the destruction stood Hulk. He breathed heavily, his massive chest rising and falling as green light slowly faded from his skin. His muscles shrank, his rage softened. The monster knelt. Bones cracked softly, not in pain but release. Moments later, Bruce Banner collapsed onto the cold stone, human once more. He lay there for a long time, staring at the sky, alive. The cost of victory. Banner slowly pushed himself up, his body shaking from exhaustion. His eyes scanned the ruins, the destroyed village, the fallen towers, the ashes drifting through the air. So much destruction, he whispered, even when we win. He stood and walked toward the edge of the courtyard where the sun fully touched the ground. Smoke curled upward in thin trails, carrying the scent of burned stone and ancient blood. Banner clenched his fists. Some monsters are born, he said quietly. Others are chosen. He turned away from the castle, knowing this place would never truly be safe. The final shadow. Deep beneath the ruins, far below where sunlight could reach, something still moved. In a crack within a shattered stone altar, a single drop of blood pulsed faintly, dark, thick, alive. It glowed red. A whisper echoed through the darkness, eternal. The blood sank into the earth, disappearing. Somewhere, far away, thunder rumbled without clouds. Bruce Banner disappeared into the forest, leaving the mountains behind. The world would remember this night only as a legend, of a green giant and a dark lord locked in battle. But legends never truly die. They wait, and when the night grows long again, rage will rise.